Hi, Colin here from Colin's Cosmetic Consultancy, and this is another episode of our Scoop on the Gloop series. And this time we're going to delve into a bit of a gloopology because Samantha's been looking at the way brands work, and she came up with a question which I think I can answer.
Okay, yeah, so I was just talking to Colin today about expressing my inner thoughts about what I think about when some brands you might you might get with a brand because they have a product you love, but then they start coming out with all these extra products that sometimes it might seem like they're straying away from the original. So my question to Colin was, I suppose, asking what are the motivations behind when brands do that, because I get the impression that if too many products come out too quickly in a small space of time, I just assume they haven't had as much love, care or thought gone into them. So for example, if it was a brand that had a star ingredient and they just wanted that in multiple things, I get that. But sometimes it just seems that brands just want to cover their bases and think, right, we just want to cover all the hero ingredients under the sun, and it just makes you think, well, is that product really going to be any good? Are they just adding it to their repertoire because they want to? So, Colin, what have you got to say about that?
Well, what I've got to say about it is it keeps a lot of cosmetic chemists in jobs, and it's a very, very, very widespread practice. And if you go back to one of the classics of the industry, which would be Nivea cream, this is one of the oldest creams on the market. I think it dates back to before the First World War, or sometime around then, at any rate. And it hasn't changed that much. This is still pretty much the same formulation today that it has been for getting on for 100 years. And I think this must be one of the best known brands in cosmetics. I mean, everybody recognises the Nivea pack straight away, and the very distinctive appearance of it. So this cream has been going for a long time. It's continued to prove very popular, and it's not being changed. People carrying on buying it. So why do Nivea feel the need to bring out lots of extra products under the Nivea name? The name for the process of adding to your line is called line extension. So if you bring out a line extension to Nivea cream, then that's called a line extension. So here is one. Here is Nivea for Men. This is quite a recent line extension. In fact, I only discovered it came out a few weeks ago, but I think it's probably been around a while. But it certainly hasn't been around as long as the original. And is it really the case that men have been just wandering the streets, desolate with depression, because they haven't got their own Nivea cream? I don't think so. And in fact, looking at it, the formulation is different to the original Nivea cream, but I can see nothing about the ingredients that says this is for men. To my mind, this is just a standard cream, which if you put it into an ordinary Nivea pot, it probably wouldn't it wouldn't be a miss at all. And line extensions for Nivea, it's been going on for a long time, and there are dozens of them. They've come and they've gone, and they're still very widespread. I just picked this one up today because this is a shower cream with coconut and jojoba oil, which arguably has got nothing whatever to do with the original Nivea promise of repairing damaged barrier creams on your skin. In fact, I'm sure this is a very well formulated one. They're a very good company who make Nivea, and I'm sure it's a great and fantastic product. But on the whole, shower creams, if they do anything, they damage your skin. They're not offering the same benefit as the original brand, to which it's a line extension. So the question is, why do they do it? And the answer is not at all obvious unless you think of it. And once you think of it, it becomes, of course, that's why they do it. Why else why else would they do it? And the answer is very simple. Brands like Nivea are sold in supermarkets and retailers. Uh, Online sales are quite a recent part of their history, given how long they've been going. And their competition isn't uh, other small companies or um, other ways of people spending their money. Their competition is people like Procter and Gamble and Unilever. Um, the company behind Nivea is called Beiersdorf, which isn't a household name, but most of the people they compete with would be household names. And basically, Procter and Gamble and Unilever and Beiersdorf are battling for shelf space. The more shelf space they get in the supermarkets, the bigger market share they will get. And this is why they bring out so many line extensions. They're looking for more reasons for the supermarkets to put their products on the shelf. A classic example is Head and Shoulders. Basically, Head and Shoulders is an anti-dandruff shampoo. If you have dandruff, you can go and buy your Head and Shoulders and it will tackle your problem. It's the last product where you need hundreds of line extensions, but if you go and look on the shelves, there they are. There's frequent use Head and Shoulders, there's Head and Shoulders with lime in it, you name it. And they continually have to bring out these new variations in order to have a reason to increase their shelf space in the supermarkets, and also to have a reason to go in to see the supermarket buyer. So if you're a salesperson for a big brand like Beiersdorf, you ring up and say to the chief buyer at Tesco's, can I come in and see you? To which his response will be, well, what have you got that's new? And the answer is, we've now got Nivea for men. You're going to want to have that, aren't you? Because it's going to be in Boots, so you want it on your shelves as well. So that's the whole reason behind it. It's to do with the fact that big multinational companies' target market are big retail buyers and not the actual consumer who buys the product. They're quite a long way down the food chain. And it's interesting to look at brands that don't do this. So here's another really, really well-known classic brand, which is KY Jelly. And the same rules don't apply in this case, because KY Jelly is actually a registered pharmaceutical, and they can't bring out a line extension to it because of that medical heritage. They'd have to go through all the medical process to come out with a line extension, and they'd have to have a justified medical benefit to justify giving them a license. You can't go to the health authorities and say we want a new lubricant because we want more shelf space in the chemist. You'd have to go along and say this is a new indication, we want to treat a new condition or something like that, all of which is very expensive and very difficult, and the extra shelf space you would get for it would not justify the effort. So that's why some brands don't do line extensions, and other brands don't do anything apart from line extensions. It's all to do with the route to market and the nature of the product. And once you know that, it's obvious, and next time you're in the supermarket you'll see.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So the whole thing about the retail customer base being higher on the food chain than, say, us sometimes, that is something to think about if you're maybe a startup or you want to launch your own skincare brand, and you've got your eye on places like Boots and Superdrug in addition to online, isn't it? It's something you might want to launch online in a shop with one, say, hero product. Let's just say you've worked for a long time on one product that you've poured your heart and soul into, and it might turn out that the retailer might demand of you to suddenly come up with more line extensions. It's definitely something to think about, isn't it?
Yes, that's definitely the case, and it's part of your brand strategy if you're planning to get into the market. We have had the occasional customer who's come to us who's been consulting with marketing experts, and they often come saying that the marketing experts have told them that they can't get into the market unless they come in with a range of products. And the thinking there is, if you're trying to get onto the supermarket shelves, you need to have a big chunk of space to justify it. I don't know if it's great advice, because there are always products around that sell very well in a single variety. Things like, Albus oil, that's a bad example because that's a medical product, but things like...
That bio oil, has that got many line extensions?
Well, bio oil is actually an interesting example. Bio oil was started out as a moisturising oil, and that was one of the first products that got picked up as something that people talked about online. And I think it was more luck than anything else. The people behind the bio oil, I don't think had that as a target for their marketing efforts. And what happened is people online started talking about its use for stretch marks. That wasn't something that was originally part of the brand at all. I remember when it first took off, being asked by somebody to copy it, which is one of the things that happens in this business a lot. And that it was handed to me on my desk as a stretch mark product. I picked it up to look at what claims they were making, and there was no mention of stretch marks on the original packaging at all. Now, Bio Oil is a relatively small company, and I don't think they've got the resources to do a lot of line extensions, but they have tried. There are some Bio Oil line extensions that I've seen. I don't know if they've caught on or not. But that's a good example whereby you can break into the market with a single product and a single story. So the marketing experts who tell people that you have to have a range of products are not necessarily entirely right. But equally, they're not entirely wrong either. If you're really serious about having a presence in retail, you're probably going to need a range of products, and that product number's probably going to be sort of 7 or 8 to look a credible range on the shelves, or maybe more if you want to be in more than one section of the store. Quite an ambitious goal, but if that's what you're aiming for, that's what you need to be thinking. The people, of course, who totally took this to the nth degree would be the Ordinary, or DCM, or whatever they're called. I forget which one's a brand and which one's a sub-brands, but they had Chemistry was another one of their brands, and another 3 or 4. So they just broke all the rules. They didn't launch, a small range and then bring out line extensions steadily and build the brand up like that. They just threw a whole load of them all at once. And I was quite confident it was going to be a complete failure and a disaster when it first came out, but it seems to have worked. And I think that's a sign that online sales are, of course, breaking the rules that have lasted for a long time now. If you're selling on Amazon, it's probably more important to have one listing on the top of the page than to have 20 listings on pages 5 or 6 of it. So it's probably going back to the stage where you need to have one strong message and one strong product if you want to be successful. But for the time being, supermarkets are still the main place where people buy products, and so if you're serious about launching a brand, you need to take into account the way the supermarket environment works.
Do you think that is still the case then, even for these small brands that might be quite unknown? You think overall that is still where most purchase of skincare and cosmetic happens, in store rather than online now?
I would say yes. I don't have any data to back that up, but I think, although obviously online sales are now enormous, and some companies do very, very well indeed online, and there are brands that only work online and don't get into any kind of physical distribution. I still think if you actually look at the average person, I think they still buy more stuff in shops than they do online. So I still think the majority of sales must be physical sales from a shopping outlet at the moment. That'd be my judgment.
I think I would agree with that if I was to look at my shelf at home and where most of it has come from. I think more of the obscure products and things that I might Google and like to buy or plan to buy are more online. But what I have currently and what I end up doing is when you're out in the shop and you see it, you buy it. So yeah, I think more of what I currently have is from retail.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a long time before anybody who's serious about selling large quantities can ignore retail. I think until literally you can go onto your laptop and get a drone to bring you a product from a nearby warehouse within 10 minutes. I still think people are going to prefer the immediacy of going out and bringing their hunter-gatherer instincts to bear to get hold of the products they want to use.
Well, that provides me with some insight as to why there's always these brand, these line extensions, and I completely understand now why retail has set that precedent. But I do think that has bled into online. If you're an online only brand, you don't have to conform to that requirement from retail to keep adding extensions. I still think these brands still are, though, maybe because retail has demanded it for so many years. The customer now does.
I think you're right. I didn't think that one through as much as I should. You're right. There's no doubt about it. The second strongest story for a product is new. Everyone's interested in new. The only thing that is stronger than new is everybody else wants it and it's running out.
Yeah.
That's a difficult thing to contrive if you're a new brand. So new is good. So I think even a purely online brand still needs to have an MPD program. So I still think the cosmetic chemist will still be busy for many years to come.
Yeah, you'd all have to let us know if you think new is good. If you like it when your favourite brand keeps bringing out new things, or if you just think, no, I'm sticking to what I got from them a year ago, 3 years ago, and that's my product with this brand, and I don't like to try their new stuff. So yeah, let us know in the comments if you think new is good.
Okay.